Denuvo is the biggest anti-piracy software that a lot of companies have used, and it sort of became an industry standard for many years. But over the course of the past few months, we've already realized that Denuvo is slowly but surely getting cooked by the day. You can even say that it's pretty much dead. And it's all because of the cracking scene and how recently they straight up have destroyed Denuvo with a thing called hypervisor. Before we continue with this video, of course, I want to emphasize on the fact that I do not condone video game piracy, and what I'll be quickly explaining is mainly for educational and informative purposes only, so do not attempt this. But basically, when pirates crack a certain game, they mainly remove the entire checking of whether or not you have the license for that game. Basically removing all of the Denuvo code, removing anti-tamper checks, and removing all those sort of checks that happen in the background while the game is running. The problem with this is that removing these types of checks takes a lot of time, sometimes for certain games not even possible. I've heard many stories of people that have tried to crack games that have to build tools for certain tools that have to make certain tools. It's a very complicated process that takes a lot of time and a lot of skill. Now, this is where the hypervisor thing comes in play, because this is a sort of software that tricks Denuvo and all these checking software to think that they're actually running when in reality they're actually not. It's more of a bypass than a removal of the actual tool. Now, when it comes to actually running Denuvo software and checking if whether or not you have the licensing for the game or not, they run this at the application layer, or should I say the application privileges, at ring 3. Hypervisor softwares usually run at the kernel level, ring 0, which means that if you were to run this software, they essentially have full privileges of your operating system, which is why some people completely do not advise that you run foreign software on your computer, of course, due to security reasons. Essentially, you have to disable every single security layer of your computer in order for this software to even run, from security boot to driver signature enforcement to EFI guard and much more stuff. And by running this stuff, they're able to get access to, as of recent, pretty much every game, because it was recently announced that a team by the name of Denuvo with this method has managed to crack pretty much every single game that is not VR. Denuvo is genuinely that cooked at the moment, to the point that they're pretty much calling it dead now. Even popular subreddits are memeing about it at the moment, because now what, everything has been essentially cracked, right? And some popular upcoming game releases, like for example Star Wars Galactic Racer, had the Denuvo DRM label at first, and later on just decide, nah, we don't need that, screw that. They're losing faith in Denuvo. Now, Denuvo as a company, of course, they're going to respond to something like this, and that they're not going to claim defeat at first. And they have already responded to the entire thing by stating that they are already working on an updated security version for games impacted by the hypervisor bypass, that player performance for these games won't be affected allegedly by these strengthened security measures. They're also stating that in order to fix this, that they're not going to need a ring -1 or a deeper kernel level in order to fix this, because that is in the quote-unquote direction they're pursuing. The only doubts that a lot of people have currently about this announcement is the thing that they mentioned around player performance not being compromised, especially because in past situations we have seen how Denuvo affects performance in a lot of games. I think one of the more popular examples when it comes to performance being compromised because of Denuvo was Resident Evil Village and the release of that game. Like, here is a direct gameplay comparison. As you can see, the Steam version had literal spike dips in performance when it comes to running Denuvo in the background, and this was 4 years ago. In recent times it isn't as bad, of course, but we had an example with Resident Evil Requiem, for example, where the difference in FPS was around 10 FPS, with the non-DRM version getting 10 more FPS than the original. The reason why a lot of people hate Denuvo is the fact that it simply just hurts performance for games, and not only that, it also hurts consumers the most, because software like this encourage piracy more and more, unfortunately, and we're kind of seeing this unfold with the recent Denuvo stuff. There is a very popular quote from Denuvo where he stated, "The easiest way to stop piracy is not by putting anti-piracy technology to work, it's by giving those people a service that's better than what they're receiving from the pirates." But whether these companies will ever learn something like that, we'll genuinely don't know. Anyways, thanks for listening to my yap, and now I'm just gonna go somewhere to quack. See you in the next video. Bye bye.